So I got some kind of weird news, kind of a good news, bad news situation. I inherited a house, and it's not like a giant mansion, but it's more than good enough for me and the girls. And, the bad news part is that my grandmother died. I hadn't seen her since I was like 5 years old. I would wonder for years just why that was, but I would eventually learn the reason of this deep rift between my mother and grandmother. Reasons involving the paranormal and occult that would only pull me deeper and deeper into a terrifying world of supernatural reality and a secret family legacy that ended with my great-grandfather. We entered the house with no expectations, finding it brimming with at least 3 generations of the family's belongings, going back to my great-grandfather Leopold Oldry. I would come to find much more hidden underneath this roof, including multiple unquiet spirits that seemed set on helping me discover something. So I got some kind of weird news, kind of a good news, bad news situation. Let me start by saying that, over this past year and a half, I've been struggling like a lot of people. It was already difficult, being a single father. I've got 2 daughters. One's a toddler, the other's a teenager. It was kind of like a, what am I going to sell this month to make rent situation. And now I own a house. I inherited a house, and it's not like a giant mansion, but it's more than good enough for me and the girls. And, the bad news part is that my grandmother died. I hadn't seen her since I was like 5 years old, but still, And now I just have to tell my 15-year-old daughter, who just started high school, that we are moving hundreds of miles away tomorrow. Wish me luck. I was very close to my grandmother in my earliest years, but she was a very stubborn woman, something I understood even then. I would eventually learn that my mother and aunt came to my grandmother in desperation for answers, hoping they could find them in the belongings of her own father, my great-grandfather, but they were refused, causing the never-healed family rift. Being the best option before us, me and my daughters quickly made the long journey to this house. The one that I had known intimately in my earliest years, but somehow now felt like a lost memory, as if from a past life or a story someone else told me. The way there, though long, was strangely, consistently off the beaten path, off of major highways and roads, and through many forested or heavily wooded areas. As I look back on that journey now, some strange occurrences along the way seem now to may have been some kind of portent for what was to come. Maybe I'll dig into those in a future video, but I like more concrete things. Still on the road, almost there, I guess. I thought it would be a good time to show that Sallow and Melissa are in fact real. I am not insane. Sallow is still pretty pissed off at me. Hey, say hi! Here, show it to, show your sister. Get her to say hi. Yeah, so less than an hour to go. We're a little slow moving out of that really ratty motel because some people take a long time, but we're almost there. As we got closer, my older daughter Sallow couldn't help but point out that so many of the nearby houses had a strange haunting quality. I preferred the term historical, but had to agree. While many of them were just examples of older architecture, there was at least one that looked like some kind of vampiric castle. As we pulled up to the house, there was something of an ominous atmosphere surrounding it as well, though obviously not nearly enough to dissuade us from this new home. Okay. Oh, come on. Sallow has ice cream, so she's a little happier now. Look at our new house. Wow. This is cool, right? Better than an apartment. She's still pissed off. Neighbor's dog. Here, take her hand. I gotta get the key. I think they said it was under the round. Okay. There we go. Oh, nice key. Let's see. Hopefully this actually unlocks the door. We'll make a separate video for walking in. Everybody here. Heading on into the new house for the first time. They say go. Yeah. See how scary? It's kind of scary, actually. Oh, look at all this stuff. Dollhouse for you, Salo. Go. Okay. This kitchen's pretty nice.
Ready? I'm ready to go out.
Gonna close the door. Okay, so it's our first foray into the new backyard. All three of us. Melissa. Yeah, space to run. She seems okay with that. Weird island of unmowed grass. Have to talk to the mower about that. Yeah, you having fun over here, Melissa? Come on, we gotta get going. Let's move. Hey, what's up? What?
I think the neighbors are throwing rocks at me.
I don't see anybody out there. Hello? Okay, so we are all moved into the new house. It feels a little strange calling it new because it is kind of old and very lived in. I am making it 4 generations of my family in this house, so can't really complain. Melissa, the little one, adores it. Salo is still pretty pissed off at me, which I understand. You know, it would suck to move all your friends when you just started high school. I wish we didn't have to. I still kind of feel bad about that, but what are you going to do? It's a pretty cool place. Very wild kind of area, more so than anywhere else I've ever lived in, but I kind of dig it. It's pretty cool. It is a little creepy. I mean, you know, there's always weird sounds in the old houses, but it was a little creepy here last night. Lots of old family stuff and books and notebooks. It's I don't know. Supposedly there's a letter from my grandma for me somewhere. The lawyer told me, but I haven't found it yet, so we'll see. Thanks for following, and I'll keep you guys updated. As anybody would be, I was thrilled to have so much space, which would be great either to sell or to keep for me and my daughters. It was a dream come true, and honestly, it really still is in a lot of ways. But some of it definitely does feel more like a nightmare. So I am up, can't sleep. 3-year-old woke up crying, got her back to bed, but I'm up now. I'm sure many of you know that game. So we're just going to go around and look at all the old creepy stuff that I've been finding here. So why don't we get started? And this I will call the corner. It's kind of a version of the chair with the laundry. This just seems like where all old family crap was dumped for years. There's some old film equipment. It's kind of cool. I know that my great-grandfather was apparently involved in like old school Hollywood, like 1920s or 30s kind of stuff, so maybe this was his. A bunch of old paintings and old Fantasia movie posters. Here's hoping that something here is worth a bunch of money. If you see anything, TikTok, let me know. I guess these are some old Fantasia posters. There's 2 of them. Okay, this one is not quite as creepy as it is just weird. It's just an old bookshelf downstairs. I know that you can pause the video, but if you look at the titles, they're all religious, esoteric, some kind of spirituality, you know, it's all something. Shit. Okay, maybe this is creepy. Traces of the past. Okay, I think I just found the letter that my grandmother left me. Okay, so I didn't post anything yesterday. It's currently about 2:30 a.m., but I'll probably post this tomorrow morning. You saw the circumstances of that letter. Um, book falling off the bookshelf seemingly by itself. I'm a skeptic. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions, but it was kind of weird. I'm going to break this up a little bit. I'm going to read this letter. Okay, now I've already read it myself, and I'm going to try and it's kind of emotional, but I'm just going to read it as it is. Hey, you kiddo. It's been a long time. I'm sorry that this note is the closest thing we'll get to ever talking again. That's anybody's fault but yours. I've always known I'd leave you the house ever since you were about a year old, though I had hoped we would spend many more happy days in it first. I hope it proves a comforting and loving home for you and the girls, who are both gorgeous, and that you three live out those happy days. If you're anything like you were as a child, you'll find great joy in all the history under this roof. The house is brimming with it, including a great deal about our family. My father's journals are still around here and there. Have wonderful lives. Love, Grandma. Okay, now this is where it gets kind of weird on the back, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a follow-up video. P.S. I am adding this note a good bit later. After a lifetime of completely refusing to acknowledge any of this to anyone, it's hard to even write. You will likely experience some strangeness. I want to assure you and your family that there is no danger. Anything you hear, see, or feel means you no harm, even if it seems to. Though the yard can be extra mischievous. And watch out for Frogette. She gets into everything. Okay. Honestly, that last little part was very weird, especially considering how I found the letter. I mentioned in a previous video that it was kind of creepy here at night. It's nighttime now. It doesn't seem that creepy. I actually kind of like it here a lot. I got this little patio. Sorry to veer off, but this morning, Salo told me that last night she thought she heard somebody talking in the kitchen. Now, that's pretty horrifying, either that she has schizophrenia or, somebody was talking in the kitchen, a ghost or a person would be pretty terrible. So, I don't know what to think about that. But, with this new information, like I said, I'm a skeptic, but I'm weirded out, and I'm a little scared, and so you guys get to hear about it. Okay, so it is time to check out the shed for the first time. I have not been inside of this thing yet. It's pretty big. And based on how it was on the inside of the house, let's see what we find. Okay, we are going in. Okay. Yes. As I was assuming, Grandma did not keep a very clean shed. I don't know how long this thing has been here. It doesn't seem as old as the rest of the house, but still, lots of crap around here. I don't know. Oh, shit. Is that one of those journals? Okay, so I found this journal that seems to have belonged to my great-grandfather. It's got some typewriter. It's got some handwritten stuff. It's got this picture. I don't know if it's him, but it was inside of there. And, what must be ancient boots. Maybe they were his too. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to look around in here a little bit more. If I find something cool, I'll post it up. I have been looking a lot through this old-ass journal. It did belong to my great-grandfather. It is mostly just cocktails. You could look in there made on a typewriter. It does have some other things, though. It looks like he had this from, like, the 40s until the 50s, like the late 40s through to the 50s at some point. And, I mentioned him being involved in Hollywood, but I was wrong. He was actually in the movie business in Europe before he immigrated here. in Norway, Denmark, around there. He talks about this guy, Benjamin Christensen, who he says, like, really screwed him over. I don't really know much about it. I looked the guy up, and I guess he was the one who wrote and directed that movie Haxon. I'll show you a little bit about that if you're not familiar. Okay, if you're unfamiliar, Haxon was this awesome, like, satanic occult movie in the 1920s, if you can believe it, that came from Norway and Denmark. I knew about it a little bit just because I'm a horror and fantasy fan, and, you know, these are just the pictures that come up on Google. It was written and directed by this guy, Benjamin Christensen, who I just looked up and found on Wikipedia. You know, yeah, my great-grandfather, all he says in this thing is that he keeps talking about how the guy screwed him over somehow. And then he came here to the United States. Seems to make reference to other journals he'd had before. Maybe he had some more after. I'm going to keep looking around the house because this is a pretty intriguing mystery. I really want to know what happened. And I'll keep you guys updated if I find anything cool. I would come to find that this all transpired during his time working around Scandinavia, traveling from his home in the UK. So a quick refresher before I dive in here. I inherited a home from my estranged grandmother. A family home that's been in our family for about 4 generations, built by my great-grandfather, Leopold Oldry, in the 1950s or 40s. I found his journal from around that time. He talked about when he was in the movie industry in Europe before coming here. That was in the 1920s. Talked about this guy, Benjamin Christensen, who all I could really get was that he hated this guy, and like the guy kind of screwed him over. I searched the guy and found that he was the writer-director of this old movie Haxon, which if you're a big horror nut like me, you might be familiar with. I'll do a quick rundown with that to show you. Okay, so this movie Haxon came out in 1922, shockingly. All about witches and Satanism, all kinds of stuff they used to believe about the occult. You know, Benjamin Christensen was supposed to be, you know, the one-man auteur show behind it. Wrote, direct, produced everything. He said after he found a book in a German bookstore about witchcraft. I say supposedly because from what I've been finding around here, I'm starting to suspect that my great-grandfather actually was one of the main writers and the primary source of this information based on stuff he had from his own grandfather. I'm still trying to find more information about it, but that's what I'm thinking so far. Okay, these are incomplete. These are just the pages I could find. Looking through the shed, I was able to get a few pages from old letters that my great-grandfather wrote to my great-grandmother. I guess there was a time where they were living apart. This is when they were in Scandinavia somewhere. I'm not sure where. Dear Charlotte, things are going well. I met a producer from Denmark named Benjamin Christensen that is very interested in working with me. I told him a little about my grandfather, the stories my grandmother told me, and his belongings. He wants to make some kind of movie about it. I'll need you to use some of this money to send the trunk here. Different letter, not the same one. Things are looking good. Benjamin says with the stuff I gave him, both of our names will be known in all film circles. Bigger, darker, more spectacular than Der Golem or Dr. Caligari, he said. We can have different life after this, Charlotte. Another letter. Benjamin is blown away by all this stuff, just as I was as a boy when I first saw it. We're writing together every day. He wants the movie, at least the first one, to focus on the witch stuff, from the first report. Wants to name it Haxon because of his language and what grandfather's order called the monster. This is the last one, different letter. Benjamin hasn't been taking my calls. They won't let me into his building or the studio. I can't believe this. It was supposed to be my big break after years of hard work. I fully expect him to continue on ahead without me and take full credit. I'm so sorry, Charlotte. It seems it will be a little longer before I can give you the life you deserve. Okay, this is just me building from context clues, but I'm getting a picture that maybe my great-grandfather actually helped Benjamin Christensen write Haxon, if not was the primary writer or the primary source for it, and he got just screwed out over and pushed out. I don't know. I'm going to try to find out more information. You know, of course, my great-grandfather could be full of shit, but I don't know. This is weird. Yeah, I don't know.